And welcome back to Thursdays with Charlie. It's our 52nd episode on the 13th of May, 2021. 52 episodes we've done. Well, just to update on the rules currently in force at the church. Mass must still be worn when you're coming to church, and we're still supposed to be keeping a 3-foot social distance between family groups. I'm already thinking that the day is coming. The day is coming. Believe me, I trust this, that we will be able to get rid of the masks. And when we find out when that day will be, believe me, I'm going to plan a mask burning ceremony. We can bring in some of our masks and burn them up and get rid of them. But for now, we still need to be wearing them when we come to church. And of course, our holy water is back, and we're very glad to have that. I did get a question about the holy water this week. Are we supposed to use holy water to bless ourselves when we come into church and when we go out of church? And there was a little bit of a debate about it, and actually, it's a custom how you use holy water. And obviously, coming into church, the custom would be you would bless yourself with holy water because you're entering a sacred place. Going out of church, some people don't bless themselves with holy water going out because they've already been to church, they're filled with God's Spirit, they perhaps received the Eucharist and they're going out. But other people say, well, as you're leaving church, you bless yourself with holy water, asking God's protection when you're out in the world. So either way, whether you like doing it just coming into church, or you do it both coming in and going out, or you just do it going out of church, it's a custom. There's no hard and fast rule on it. It's what you or your family choose and would like to do. Would like to mention that our office is closed on Fridays. We do have Mass on Friday morning at 8 o'clock, but the office is closed, so there's no business transacted on Fridays. And remember, last weekend for Mother's Day, we handed out packets of hand lotion with vitamin E and aloe in it. Some of the people who are watching our show, our Mass on the virtual Mass, obviously didn't get it because we haven't figured out how to send it through the airwaves. But if you would like to stop by the church office Monday through Thursday, please feel free to pick up a packet. We do have extra packets available for those who were watching the Mass. And even if you were at Mass and you got it and you found you really liked it on your hands, we do have some extra packets, so please feel free to stop by and pick them up. We'd be glad to share them with you. Tickets are still available for our very first show in the Garza Center. That will be In Plain Sight, featuring magician John Radolini. And that will take place on Sunday, the 23rd of May at 4 o'clock. The doors will open a half an hour before that. And the tickets are $15 each. So if you want to be part of seeing our first show in the Garza Center, the first of many, I hope, please stop by, pick up a ticket, or you can pick them up on the weekend when you come for Mass. We're looking forward very, very much to having that be a fun thing for us to do. I have a joke. I debated whether I should tell this or not, but it's a military joke. And it's kind of funny, especially having been in the military. There was a senior enlisted walking through the base with a much younger enlisted who was part of the military police. He was an MP, and he was a new MP. And they saw a man on base who was walking around on base with earbuds in his ears. And that was forbidden. It was one of the rules on the particular base. No earbuds in your ears when you're out in public on the base. And so the senior enlisted said to the young MP, "Go over and arrest that man." And the young man said, "Well, but he might be an officer." "That's okay. He's breaking a rule on the base. Go over and arrest that man." And so the young MP goes over and goes up to the person and finds out that the person, in fact, is the chaplain on the base. And he's walking around and he has earbuds in his ears. And the senior enlisted says, "No, he's breaking the rules. You have to arrest him." And so the young MP cuffs the chaplain, puts his hands behind his back, and starts reading him his rights. And he said, "You have the right to remain silent." And then he stops. And he turns to the senior enlisted guy and says, "I can't do this." And the senior enlisted guy said, "Why? Why can't you do that?" He said, "Because the chaplain is supposed to read the last rites." It's kind of funny if you were in the military, and you can go with it. When I was on the computer this week, I happened to stumble upon some sites that I've looked at before, and they're kind of funny and they're interesting. One is called On This Day in History, and the other one is called This Day in History. Both are sites that bring up the events that happened over the years on particular days in history. And so, this being May the 13th, I was curious to see what else has happened on May 13th throughout history. And while I was there, I said, well, I may as well look up the 14th too. So May 13th and 14th are what held my interest for a while. On May 13th, in the year 1792, in the Papal States, which at that point were a part of Italy, there was a young man who was born, and he was named Giovanni Mastri Ferretti. Now, I didn't even know him as Giovanni Mastri Ferretti, but he grew up to become a priest and later became the Pope. And he became Pope Pius IX. Pio Nono, as he was commonly known, Pius IX. And Pius IX is famous for several reasons. He was the Pope who ruled as Pope in the Catholic Church from 1846 until 1878. That's a period of 32 years that he was Pope. There were a whole generation of people who grew up and knew no other Pope than Pius IX. And there's a legend that St. Peter ruled as Pope, the first Pope, for 33 years. And if you follow legends, things sometimes crop up in the course of them. And there was one that was held in the church that if any pope ever rules longer than St. Peter, that would be a sign of the end of the world. Now, there's no theological basis for this. There's no logical basis for this. But it's just one of those things that floats around in legend over the years. And so when Pio Nono, Pius IX, got up to 32 years as Pope in 1878, people were beginning to wonder what's going to happen. Is this really going to be the beginning of the end? But he remains the longest reigning pope other than St. Peter, and we don't know exactly how long Peter reigned, although the legend says it was 33 years to match the 33 years of Jesus' life. And so, next reigning pope closest to that is Pope John Paul II, who reigned for almost 25 years, a little bit longer than 25 years, and we were wondering that he might be approaching that limit too. But at any rate, Pope Pius IX is known for several things besides the longest reign, other than St. Peter, 32 years. In 1854, it was Pope Pius IX who proclaimed the dogma, the belief in the Immaculate Conception of Mary, that Mary, because of the salvation that her son Jesus would achieve for the world, was conceived in her mother's womb without any taint of original sin. She was conceived without sin. O Mary, conceived without sin, pray for us who have recourse to thee, is one of the prayers associated with the Immaculate Conception. That belief was proclaimed in 1854 by Pope Pius IX. And besides that, in 1870, Pius IX was the man who convoked the First Vatican Council. We're so familiar with saying, well, that dates back to Vatican II in the 1960s. Well, if there was a Vatican II, there was obviously a Vatican I. And Vatican I met in 1870. And the big thing that came out of Vatican I, while Pope Pius IX was Pope, is something called Papal Infallibility. The Council declared that the Pope could speak on a matter of faith or morals in such a deliberate way that the Church would believe it was infallible, incapable of being in error. Now, the bishops at the council actually voted on that, and there were two bishops who voted against it. And one of the bishops who voted against it was from the United States. He was the Bishop of Little Rock, Arkansas, who voted against papal infallibility. Now, obviously, he was outvoted. There were only 2 dissenting votes, but the rumor went around that, well, the little rock tried to defeat the big rock. Peter, the rock of the church, the Pope, the rock of the church. There was a little bit of a joke in there. But papal infallibility was proclaimed by Vatican I, and we believe that it's possible that the Pope, deliberately speaking on a matter of faith and morals, deliberately intending his statement to be infallible, could speak in an infallible way, and the church would follow it. It's interesting to note that many theologians feel that it has never been used. Then the Pope, since 1870, has never spoken in a way that has been definitely infallible. There have been some that would argue we came close to it, but that it was never completely fulfilled, that anything would be that infallible as to have gone back to the council. On May 13th, in the year 1981, Pope John Paul II was shot 4 times as he rode through St. Peter's Square. It was a Turkish militant who shot him. He was eventually given life imprisonment. At the request of the Pope, he was forgiven and was released and sent back to Turkey and forgiven by Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul II felt that since this occurred on May the 13th, which I'll mention later is a very day sacred to Mary under the title of Our Lady of Fatima, that he was protected by the Our Lady of Fatima. Other dates, if we go up to May 14th, on May 14th, in 1607, the English established their very first English-speaking settlement in the New World, and that was in Jamestown, Virginia. And on May 14th in 1787, the Constitutional Convention was called to Philadelphia to write our American Constitution. Now, unfortunately, because of many difficulties in the 1700s, it never started on the 14th of May, 1787. It was postponed until the 25th of May. So while it was called for May 14th, it didn't begin until the 25th of May. On May 14th in 1948, the State of Israel was established by a mandate from the United Nations, a resolution of the United Nations. It took effect on May 14th, 1948, establishing the State of Israel. And on May 14th in 1998, Frank Sinatra died at the age of 82. Now, Frank Sinatra, known the world over as one of the greatest singers and most popular singers, was born December the 12th, 1915, in Hoboken, New Jersey. He was a Jerseyite, and he recorded many, many songs. In fact, I was surprised to learn, how many songs do you think Frank Sinatra in his long career ever recorded? He recorded over 1,200 different songs in the course of his long, long life. Now, of course, that made me curious. I wonder what the most popular song that Frank Sinatra recorded was. And I would have guessed, my own thought, would have been My Way. That's the one that I associate with Frank Sinatra, but that's not true. According to Billboard charts, the most popular song that Frank Sinatra ever recorded was the one he did with Nancy Sinatra, Something Stupid. And Something Stupid is his most popular song, closely followed by Strangers in the Night, Fly Me to the Moon, My Way, The Way You Look Tonight, to name just a few. And of course, Frank Sinatra is famous not only for his singing, but for being a very important part of Las Vegas history as being part of a group that came to be known as the Rat Pack. The Rat Pack, a group of entertainers who really, especially in the 60s and 70s, ruled the world of entertainment. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop. The Rat Pack still has lingering memories in Las Vegas, and they were the inspiration for so many entertainers that would have followed them. But perhaps the most significant thing, let's go back to May 13th, that happened on May 13th in the course of history was May 13th, 1917. There was an apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Portugal, just outside of Fatima. And some people say, Bishop Sheen felt this very strongly, that the apparition at Fatima was very, very deliberate and very, very important because of the name of the place. Muhammad's daughter was named Fatima, and perhaps that idea that of Mary appearing at Fatima was a sign that Mary has a special interest in the conversion and the salvation of those of the Islamic faith. But on May 13th, 1917, Mary appeared to 3 shepherd children outside of the city of Fatima. They were tending their sheep in the fields. And the 3 children were Lucia dos Santos, who was the oldest, and then her cousins, Jacinta and Francisco Marto, who were a little bit younger than she was. And Mary asked them to pray for world peace, in particular, to pray the rosary for world peace. Now, this was during World War I, and so there was a special interest at the time in world peace. Now, the other 2 children, Jacinta and Francisco, died when they were still very, very young children. But Lucia lived on. She became a Carmelite nun, and she died on February 13th in the year 2005. So she lived for very many years after the apparitions. And she was a cloistered Carmelite, so she was not generally accessible for interviews or things like that. But one of the things that has fascinated people down through the centuries about Fatima were what's called the 3 secrets of Fatima. On July 13th, 1917, the children claimed that they received 3 secrets from the Blessed Virgin Mary, who has come to be known as Our Lady of Fatima in that image. And they did not reveal them. The 2 children, Jacinta and Francisco, died without revealing the secrets, and Lucia held on to them until 1941, when she revealed the first 2 of the 3 secrets. And the first secret was a vision of hell. The children were allowed to see the torments, the fires, the sufferings of hell in a very graphic, very, very almost photographic way of flames and screams and souls in terror or in pain. It was a vision designed to make them want anything other than the chance of going to hell. And the second vision was praying for the conversion of Russia. And it asked that someday Russia be consecrated to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which was another part of that second secret, that Mary revealed herself as Jesus. We know him in one image as the Sacred Heart of Jesus, that there be the honor to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And that pretty much comprised the second secret. Now, the third secret had a fascination. People knew that it was attached to Fatima, knew that the children said there were 3 secrets, knew that only 2 had been revealed, and the bishop of that part of Portugal tried to get Sister Lucia, who was a Carmelite nun certainly before 1940s, but endured as a Carmelite nun till 2005, to reveal it. And she said she wouldn't. In 1943, he asked her, or ordered her under obedience, to write down the secret in case she should die and the secret would be lost to the world. And so, in a letter addressed to the bishop of that part of Portugal, Sister Lucia in 1943 wrote down the secret. But it was with the stipulation that it was not to be revealed until she died or until 1960 came, whichever came first. So if you were a Catholic in the 1950s, you would have been waiting for 1960. Oh, the secret's going to be revealed. And then 1960 came, and the secret wasn't revealed. Many people felt that the Pope had read the secret. There was speculation that the secret must have been something so terrible that we couldn't take it, we couldn't have it revealed to us. Other people said it was probably so inconsequential at that time that it wouldn't make sense to reveal it. It was not such a great secret. But there was a lot of speculation about it. At any rate, it was not revealed in 1960, although it is felt that every pope since 1960 had read the secret, and in the year 2000, Pope John Paul II revealed the third secret. And he said it came out with a document from the Vatican, that it concerned a vision of a figure, a bishop in white, who was injured, who was persecuted, and there was a persecution turmoil going on in the church. And the vision was very graphic, and some people said, well, it must have been a prediction of the shooting of Pope John Paul II in 1981. Others said, well, maybe it's a sign that the church would undergo a period of persecution. But almost immediately after the secret was revealed, and the Vatican attested to it, there were people who said, well, they didn't reveal the whole secret. They're holding something back. And we really have no serious reason to believe that they're holding something back. We think that it might have been a very simple vision of the future of the church, and perhaps the idea that there would be times that would be very difficult and very tumultuous for the church to get through. And so that's the story of the third secret of Fatima. Now, Pascal's going to come down, and since I mentioned Pius IX, there's a quote attested to Pope Pius IX. I could not find it for sure, but I remember it very, very clearly in my education, that Pius IX is credited with saying, Nihil Est mali Iura. And in English, that's evil has no rights. We don't have to give any rights to evil. We don't want to give evil any control, any power, any ability to influence our lives. So evil has no rights might be a good thought for us to take away, courtesy of Pope Pius IX. God bless and have a wonderful week.